Just kicked it off. There we go. Cool. All right. Welcome everyone to the September, right? Cloudy County call. Uh, Joe's back. You made it back from your Arctic adventures, your life at sea. What was it 20 something days on a boat?
Got slightly extended due to weather, Canadian forest fires. Yeah, 23 days in the Arctic Northwest Passage. So little crazy, but hey, I can do Teams over internet satellite, so I was able to get some work done those last few days.
Yeah. Well, you left me alone for last Cloudy County's call, and we were talking about Outlook, and the sweep rule came up. So the ability to do sweeping of messages, that is a function that's only available in the online version of Outlook and the new version of Outlook that we talked about last month. And I mentioned that we had done a presentation on Inbox Zero, and a few of the people in the audience were like, that sounds really cool. How do we do that? Because nobody likes email. Everybody wants less email. And I was like, yeah, we could do that. So this is kind of content we've done before, but we haven't done it with Cloudy County. So we've done it with the University of Florida. We did a podcast on it, which we can drop a link to that in the chat. There's a LinkedIn newsletter that kind of accompanied that. So let me grab that real quick. And this, I said this in the invite, this is not like a prescription. This is guidance if you want it, and it's up to you to decide which pieces and parts that we show you, you can actually work those into like your daily life. Because email is a pretty personal thing. Like it's literally your inbox. And so there are some things that you can do that others might not be able to do. Like if you're in IT, you very likely receive emergency email messages, right, for outages and stuff. But maybe some of you don't, and so just take everything with a grain of salt. If you learn something cool, I'm so happy. I hope you will. Um, but for those of you who are new, I forgot to do the actual proper intro. This is Cloudy County. This is a community that Joe and I have been running for over a year now. It's been a while, and this is specifically for land grant schools. So agriculture schools, extension programs. We try to have a unique perspective of what extension agents and IT who support those extension agents, those researchers, those land grant programs. It's different, right? It's different. and we've been there. And so we try to make sure that we approach all these things from that angle. However, I'll say email is probably a universal struggle. Extension may not be super special in that sense because we've been getting email for decades, and it just doesn't seem like it's slowing down. So we're going to start off with, I'm not even going to share my screen. We're just going to have a fireside chat, Joe. We're going to have a conversation. Do you feel like email controls you? And for all of you, just kind of think in your head, like, do you feel like you are beholden to your inbox? Like, are you looking at it throughout the day? Is it on your screen right now, like somewhere? Like, do you have a couple of monitors, and like this monitor
Right.
over here is running Outlook all the time?
Right.
You
I
know,
I, I would say that definitely was the case a while ago. That's it's difficult to change. You have that thought of like I don't want to miss this thing or this important person, this boss, something I need to do. Um, and I've got a customer who I'm supposed to meet out in the field, and they're sending me emails because we need to change the location, do something like that. Constantly looking at that. The last few years, because of Microsoft Teams, I would say now I have Teams lit up on a second monitor, kind of that's always open versus Outlook now. That's usually minimized. And some of the things we'll talk about today, that doesn't come up as much often anymore. Definitely getting more things that have moved into Teams, but usually the things that have moved into Teams are things that I'm actively working on. But yeah, hopefully some of these things we're going to show you how to reduce that feeling of constantly needing to take a look at it. And if you do take a look at it, how to more quickly triage and see the things that are more important.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Teams thing, you bring up a good point. I I'm in a place now, like personally, in a place now where I kind of feel like a Teams chat message or an IM of whatever kind typically is expecting like a quicker response. It's more active, it's more alive, like real time messaging versus an email to me is something that I will get to it when I can get to it. And I think I said this on the last call. I can't remember, and I apologize, y'all, if I'm repeating stuff from last month. But don't email me if the building's on fire, right? Call me. You know, if something is broken, there's an emergency, you need me right away, uh, don't email me, right? Because that's not a form of communication that I feel like is live. It's asynchronous. Like I'll get to you when I can get to you, and I'll respond when I can respond. And so, if that's something that any of you can relate to, where you think, if you really think about it, if you really think about it, like how many things that are emergencies are coming to you via email that should have been a phone call, right? And so, if emails are not real time, then why are we looking at Outlook all day long? Why are we monitoring it all day long? So that would be my first bit of advice. Stop. Stop doing that. um, and there are some tricks that we can show you that can help break that habit. I like how Joe kind of started off with like he's rehabilitated, you know, in a sense, being, you know, of being sucked into the email, you know, void. He's escaped. He climbed out. And so we'll show you a few things that can help you do that. The first thing that I'll say is, well, number one, minimize Outlook, shrink it down. And I do 2 dedicated time slots on my calendar that I recurring 15-minute points on my day, that is when I go in and I look at my email. I go through all my messages, and Adrian put a really awesome like little thing that you can remember, the 4Ds. Can you do it now? Can you do it later? So you're going to delay it? Is it not even something you should be doing? So you need to have somebody else do it? Or do you not care and you can just delete it? So the 4Ds are ways that you can go through your email really rapidly during those 15-minute times that you have given yourself to work on your mailbox. On my calendar, let me open up Outlook and I'll look at my calendar. So I have one at 8:30 in the morning. I have 15 minutes every single day that says email triage. And then towards the end of the day at like 3:30, I have another 15 minutes that I go through my mailbox and I look at it. And I try to keep it shrunk down. Like I don't want it to, it's like a productivity pit. You know, you fall into it and now you've been rabbit holed and you're going all these different places when you were thinking about something else. So keep your mind on track, minimize the distraction. And I feel like Outlook can kind of be a distraction, right?
And I think what we're going to show you is some of the tools and settings and capabilities in Outlook to make some of these changes that will affect how you operate. And you may not feel comfortable immediately moving towards making Outlook, much more asynchronous and more delays in your emails. That could be a challenge. That might take some time, but some of these tools we're going to be able to implement right away that will help you when you open up Outlook, get through your email quicker,
Yeah.
and spend less time in it. But yeah, there might be a period where you feel, I kind of did, where people expect a reply in a certain amount of time and some things like that, and there's sort of I want to say culture, but just an effort on your part to help your people that really email you all the time to just say, hey, I'm going to be maybe replying to these at certain times during the day, instead of like right away, and start helping other people maybe do the same thing.
This is just a simple thing that I would show. Make a little appointment, make it for whatever duration you feel like you need. Set it up to as a recurring appointment, that's going to happen on weekdays. And then because we talked to you before about how awesome Microsoft Bookings is, you're going to want to make sure that this little time slot that you've created doesn't affect your availability for a booking. So it's probably more important that you get FaceTime with the client than it is that you check and triage your mailbox, right? So the way that you can make sure that this doesn't affect your bookings availability is where it says show as, just set this to free. So when I click this, I'm going to have, like, let me go to next week. I'm going to have this on my calendar every day. It's going to pop up and say, hey, check your email. And it's going to pop up even if I have Outlook minimized, right? It's gone. But if I pull it up, I'll get a little pop-up reminder from my event that says, hey, check your mailbox. Like, okay, cool. I'll check my mailbox. However, because we set our status to show as free, bookings can still consume that slot. If so, just throwing that out there. For those of you who haven't watched the things on bookings, we did 2 episodes on bookings, and it's pretty awesome. It's a great application. I do 2 of those, like I said. So I'll have one in the morning and I'll have another one in the afternoon, and then I get Outlook out of my face. I'll let that tell me when I should check my mail. So we're gonna go through 2 different experiences, I would call it, Joe. Like we talked about Outlook, the app. We'll talk about Outlook Online, which is more or less synonymous with the try the new Outlook, right? That's up there. Basically the same experience. But when you're in Outlook, if you go to File, you go to Options, there are some options in here that we might want to turn off that will make it a little less noisy, right? So if we go into Mail, we've got these settings right here. So I don't need to know I don't need a chime every time a new mail comes in, right? That distracts me. That pulls me away from whatever I was just thinking about. So I uncheck that. I definitely uncheck the show envelope icon. I don't even want to see it. I want to control when I go spend time in Outlook. And I definitely get rid of like any kind of desktop alerts or anything like that. So I will go and uncheck all of these.
Those are some of the first immediate, check boxes and options that will help move Outlook out of your brain constantly, right there.
Yes. Yeah. And you don't want to remove like events. So like a calendar item, a calendar event is tied to, it's like an appointment, right? It's tied to a specific time that you need to be there. So you leave those. But messages is what we're talking about. Messages. Get rid of those chimes, those notifications, all that stuff, so that you're not being sucked into the Outlook app every single time a new email comes in. Because if we've established that emails are not emergencies, you should have the grace of having an hour or 2 before you go look at it, right? I would hope. I hope. Again, take all this with a grain of salt. I'd love, give me your comments in the chat if you disagree, because I know that everybody's job role is a little bit different, which is why we said this is not a prescription. If you feel like you can get by without being annoyed by sounds every single time an email comes in, then uncheck this box. It looks pretty similar in the web. In the web, you've got your gear up here at the top right, and you're going to have under, let's see, general, we're going to have notifications, and you're going to see the same kind of options, right? Notify me when a new message arrives. No. Notify me when I receive a reminder. Yeah, that's okay. Events are something, like I said, you're going to want to know about when you get an event or something like that. But turning off these options for new messages is a pretty killer thing. I would do that. Everybody should do that. Okay, let me go back. The second one is not Outlook specific, but more Microsoft Windows specific. When you've got an application shrunk down and something happens in that application, sometimes it will sit there and just flash. So that is a taskbar setting that you can turn off. It's called taskbar flash. So if I just go on Windows 11 or Windows 10 and type in flash, you can see where I did it before. You're going to be looking for a setting called show flashing on the taskbar. And when you go into this, you can just uncheck this box. This doesn't require any kind of admin rights or anything like that. This is a user preference. This is you saying this is how I want to work. And you can turn off that flashing. And so that's one less distraction. Now, one thing I want to point out about this is not applying it specifically to Outlook, right? This is applying it to all apps that might flash. So keep that in mind. Everything will stop flashing. I turn this off immediately on any new computer I get to. It's just a habit, I guess. Joe, do you turn this off?
I don't turn that one off. I don't. I guess I don't really see that one popping up too often.
Doesn't bother you as much?
Yeah, yeah. Because there's some options to help put the object into the task tray versus the taskbars, and so sometimes they're not showing up down at the taskbar often.
Okay. Well, use that one. Like I said, use that one if you want to. If you find it is something that draws your attention. The objective here is to let you be in the driver's seat of when you're going to go to your inbox and look at your inbox, rather than your inbox pulling you in and getting you stuck into that void of productivity. The next thing is, once we get into our inbox, is when we're going to talk about like those decisions that Adrian made. We're going to look at these items and we're going to treat these more like they're to-do items rather than just communications. So for the first, like as quickly as you can, you're going to look at these things and you're going to say, do I need this? Can I destroy this? Can I delegate this? Can I do with this right now? Can I delay it? And so when you look at this item and you're like, okay, welcome to the Nested Dynamic Team Group. Well, this is just a notification from Teams to let me know I was added to something. Do I need to keep this? Probably not. Delete. Gone. And then you do that really quickly. And this is that process of email triage. This is that process of going through your mailbox and treating these items like they're tasks rather than their messages. If it's something that somebody needs from you and you can do it really quickly, reply to it and you're done. Get it out of your way. If it's something that somebody else needs to do and you know who that person is, forward it to them and then get out of your way. If you don't need it, delete it. Like I just did that one, get it out of your way. And then we get to the last one, which is delay. You need time, right? And we talked about some task management. We talked about flagging. So you can see a mail I've got flagged. We talked about Microsoft To Do is built right into this. So you can see your items. You can see your flagged mail. These things are now tasks rather than messages. There's also one trick, and Joe's going to have to remind me how this works in the online version, but you can actually grab an email and drag it to your calendar and let go of it. And it will, whoops, that was actually a meeting invite. Whoops. You can grab an email and drag it to your calendar and let go of it. And it will pop up the appointment dialog, and you can actually turn that email into an appointment. So if you're thinking about your actions and you're like, okay, I can do this, but I don't have time to do it right now. I need to delay. I need to do this later. Well, now you say, okay, let me turn it into an appointment and pick a time on my calendar that I can actually dedicate 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, that I can look at this. And that's an easy way to do that. Joe, what was the way that you do it in the online version?
Sure, we can go through that. There's kind of almost two ways for delays on the online version. So up in the that top toolbar up there, there is a one that will show your calendar and some tasks under to do. And once you have that showing, you can grab an email and just drop it onto that pane on that right hand side, and you'll get to choose whether you not want to make a task or turn it into an event. You can either drag it at the top or at the bottom of that window pane and decide if you want to, make it a task, or I think at the top was make an event.
Okay, so a to-do is not on your calendar. A to-do is just a task that may have like a due date, right? Versus an event is actually going to show up on your calendar to not have a due date, but it's actually got a set time that the entire whatever it is needs to happen, right? Is that fair to kind of
Yeah,
break
yeah.
it down like that?
I think you still set a date for things on your on your tasks, but this will definitely set a specific time that you want to work on that. Set
But those
aside some
to-do
time for that.
items, these don't show up on your calendar.
Those won't show up on your calendar.
Yeah.
No, they'll
The
show up
the
in back
event
over
shows up
in
on your
to do.
calendar.
Yep, and the
Yeah.
to-dos will show up in your to-do app. They'll be integrated over there, and you can add some more options to them over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had talked about task management quite a bit and all the different things that you can do in tasks. And I think I mean, it's a really subtle difference, but like tasks are things that just kind of pile up that you need to get to. But again, if it's something that you like, maybe you need to research something for a client and provide them with an answer. Well, I don't like just having that lingering on my list of things to do. I want to set aside some dedicated time on my calendar to say, okay, this is when I'm going to go do that research, find the articles that I need to find the documents that I need to find, and then compose a response and send it to my client. So that would be when I would say, like, when you're dragging one of these over, like, is it an event? So I'm going to set time aside for it, or is it just something I need to get to later?
There's
Adding,
there's one more
flagging it.
option.
Oh,
Yeah,
is
sorry.
there?
One more option in the web that you can do. If you were to right click on one of those messages, you're going to find an option called snooze.
Yes.
And snooze has there's a few settings there that you can see. You can't really control those initial settings there. But this is going to basically move that out of your whatever folder it's in. There is actually another folder called snooze. It's going to put it over there. And at that set time, it's going to push it back over into your inbox. And it's just going to kind of show up as like a new email that has come in.
That's like, yeah, that's just like snooze on my alarm clock. So it's just going to come
you need to
back
get back
in
to it
later.
pretty quickly. You can use that one. Again, a couple different ways. Actually, we got three different ways there. You can turn something into an event or into a task, or snooze it, and it just stays as an email and pops back up later. So you have some options there. One only available in the web or in the new Outlook client.
So snoozing and pinning are online only or
Yeah.
new Outlook only, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Pin is another one that is helpful.
But both systems, the really important stuff like notifications,
Yeah.
both systems support disabling notifications. So like if you have desktop notifications turned on for Outlook Web, you can turn that off for messages and leave it on for events. And that's going to get you, like, see this little guy down here, that's going to get you those toast. These are called toast notifications because they pop up like a piece of toast that happen down here and then are built into your Windows notification center. So events, leave those on. Messages, try turning them off and see how you like it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to, so we talked about triage. We talked about the do it, delay it, delegate it, destroy it, kind of mentality that you can take with these items. We're going to kind of get into the weeds a little bit and talk about some automations that you can set up that will make your triage process even faster, right? So if you've just got like this hot mess inbox with everything under the sun just dumped into one folder, it can be overwhelming. Like there are things in here that I can look at right now that I'm like, I don't even need to see that. I don't need to triage that. I don't care about that. You've been added to a team in Microsoft Teams. I don't want to spend time even deleting that, right? That's my time's valuable. I don't want to spend my time going through and deleting automated messages. So we're going to show you some rules that are pretty cool. But I'm going to do a little bit of prep work. I'm going to make a new folder. Actually, yeah, I'll do this in Outlook Online. That's fine. So new folder. I'm going to call it noise. This is my noise folder. This is where I'm going to send everything that I am not super concerned about. And one, I don't know, Joe, what would you call it? Like universal rule we could make. So I'm going to go into my settings, rules. I'm going to add a new rule. This is my noise rule. Noise. My action is going to be move to a folder, move to a different folder called noise. So this is going to be all messages. So where is that at? Apply to all messages. So this is, take a screenshot. This is noise, apply to all messages, move to a folder called noise. Well, if I left it at that, it would just basically, the noise folder would have everything in it. And that's not what I want. So the key to this rule to make it work for you is we're going to add an exception. The exception is I am on the to line. And then another exception is I am on, well, you could do I'm on the to or CC line. My bad. Let's do that. I'm on the to or the CC line. So this means if somebody didn't address the email to you directly, or like in email like etiquette, I guess, if I'm on the to line, you need me. If I'm on the CC line, it's for my information. That kind of how you think about it, Joe? Like,
Yeah, and this is what's important here is this is your actual email address. So
not a
not like a
distribution list.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So if it hits a distribution list, and that's, I'm glad you said that. Let's say that you are on a distribution list that your group receives mail to all the time, and it is kind of like stuff you need to see. Well, you can go in here and add another exception, right? And you could say, or if it's to, and then put in the name of the distribution list or the address of the distribution list there. So
Sometimes
that
might be
will,
what might be from the distribution list,
Mhm.
things like that. That rule can sometimes be a little different depending on the listserv.
Yeah. I don't have a really good inbox here to try to demonstrate this with because this is the fake account. So he's not getting like real work mail. But I'm gonna go ahead and run the rule, and then we'll just see where stuff goes. But this is like my base rule. This rule is going to be at the bottom of my list of rules, meaning it's going to be the last thing to run, and it's going to be the catch-all, if you will. It's going to catch everything that I haven't processed prior to that. So let's close out and see. So yeah, we've got some stuff in here. Like this wasn't sent directly to me. This wasn't sent directly to me, but everything else that was in here was sent directly to me. I was on the to line. The next rule that I would make would be to deal with, I say deal with, to automate any email that you get that didn't originate from inside your company. Different places do different things with how they signal that the email is not from within your company. I hope all of you have some sort of indication that an email is external. You can see here, I've got a couple of different things going on. I've got a policy configured in Exchange Online that will add this tag automatically. And then I've got another thing that IT admins do where I am prefixing the subject line where it says external. Those are two pretty common ways of doing this. But that is an indication to you that all of your mail is external. So we can do stuff with that now, right? We can now identify all email that's external, meaning it didn't originate from one of my peers inside of my university. And I can make a rule on that. So I'm going to make my second rule. So add a new rule, and it's going to be, actually, we're going to make a folder. Let me do that real quick. So create new subfolder, external mail. Now we make our rule. Go into rules, add new rule, external mail, add a condition. So in my situation, I'll probably do subject includes, right? So I would do subject includes external, because that's what I've added to the prefix of all of my external mail in my demo environment. Again, this could be different. You might have to hunt for a specific phrase or something that's inside the body. Joe, you pasted an example. Yeah, so you're looking at email headers because you're a nerd. So yeah, so maybe your corporation modifies the header of the email, which is kind of like the instructions or whatever at the beginning of the email. This is a simple one, just external. I'm going to then move it to a new folder, and that new folder is going to be called external mail. And then I'll also check go ahead and run it now. Now, to be fully transparent, I didn't actually turn on this setting that adds external until like late last week because I knew we were going to be doing this meeting. So I don't have a lot of external mail that I can even show you that's been moved, but you can see there's at least a couple here. So
I've real quick on that. Sometimes I've seen the need to add an exception where it's coming from the sender's address has your domain in it, your school domain in it. Just sometimes we use external mail services that send out, usually sending out bulk email. Sometimes they still come through depending on how your email system is set up. Sometimes they still come marked as external, but they're really kind of internal. So sometimes you might need to put an exception in there just to make sure that maybe if it's looking like it's supposed to be coming from your internal email system, but not really coming from there, and getting tagged, there's a way to get around that.
So would you say something like this?
Yes, exactly.
Like
Yep.
put like this. So that would be under add an exception, sender address includes this. So
yes.
I have had that happen. I've had an external person email a peer, the peer reply to it and carbon copy me. But so now the subject line says external, but it was actually coming from my friend or my coworker who was just looping me into an email conversation with a customer.
Yeah, that would take care of that
good
too.
call out.
Yep.
Yeah, good call out. So you can kind of cover that. You can kind of cover that here. So we'll save that exception. I want to point out something about rules while we're in here looking at it. Number one, I am creating these rules in Outlook Online. So these rules are being processed in the cloud, right? So these rules are being evaluated and looked at before they even really hit my phone or my device or my computer, my Outlook client on my computer. That's probably the best way that is the best way to make rules. The other thing is rules process in a particular order. So you're going to see like these little arrows here where I could move a rule up or down. And so sometimes you might run into a little bit of a weird anomaly. And it's because you had a rule, your rule ran and then it stopped, you know, because you had a setting on it. So if I go to this setting, once that rule runs, it just finishes. Now, if you want that rule to run and then continue to do more stuff afterwards, you can uncheck this box that says stop processing more rules. I know we're kind of getting in the weeds a little bit here, but these two rules are a really good place to start without getting too complicated. You've created two folders, and you've created two rules. So what that is going to leave you with is an inbox that only includes internal email that was sent to you or CC'd to you. That's what you'll be left with. So when you do your inbox triage process, now you've got even less stuff to look at, which that's good, right? Now another kind of rule that Joe and I love, and this is actually what spawned this conversation from last month, is a very powerful feature that's available in Outlook Online called Sweep. I've got lots of emails that come from the same place. You could have a newsletter. You could be on some sort of mailing list that, you know, maybe some guy named Dwayne emails you a calendar invite every month, you know, and it always comes from the same place. Maybe you're subscribed to something. Well, if you don't want to keep it all and you don't want to hunt through your mailbox, there is a awesome rule. So I'm going to click this box and it lights up this little broom called Sweep. This is amazing. So if I click Sweep, it's going to say take every single email that's in my entire inbox and move all of those messages to the deleted items folder. And that is kind of like a one-stop nuke button for any email that came from that address from that point backwards. You can expand on this if you want to, and you have limited options. But you can say, I don't want to unsubscribe, but I never want to see this again. So you could say, move all these messages and anything else that ever comes to me in the future, just send it straight to deleted items. You could say, move everything except the most recent email to deleted items. That's pretty powerful, right? I don't need to keep these forever. And again, we're all about minimizing the amount of effort that goes into that triage process. Have Sweep do it for you, right?
Those are great for like listservs to me, where that come in, that like automated, you get like a one monthly, you know, email or one weekly email or something like that, that you can handle right there with that.
You can move all messages older than 10 days. And this is one, Joe, I don't think you can configure this, right? This just works like this out of the box. Like you can't say a week or 5 days. It's 10 days. So you'll have the last 10 days of mail from whatever that address is, and then everything else will be deleted automatically. And these are unique to the Sweep function. You cannot do this with anything else. You can't do this with just rules. You have to do this through Sweep. So I'm just going to do this one time, like one and done kind of option, just so you can see like it's going to swirl and it just went through my entire mailbox and it deleted everything that had anything to do with that address, that sender's address.
This is really, if you're in a situation where this inbox zero is something that your inbox shows that you are desperate for. Let's say you've got several thousand emails in your inbox. This is pretty much your first step. This is a really great way to start cleaning out your inbox. There are some performance issues around having too many things in your inbox. Number of items recommended to maybe try to keep it under like 5,000 or so. I know we have people I've seen way more than that. So this would be a quick way to start getting through and start with this process.
Do you think I need to keep this one, Joe? You've been added to a team. Sweep. Boom. Gone. Like, look how easy that is. That's the easy button. For real.
And
So
some of those will continue to run, and in the settings you'll find the ones that you have configured, like keep the last 10 days. Those are going to be
yeah, let
running
me do
every
one.
so often. Where a typical rule is running on every new email that comes in. That set of rules start going through their list sweep that you've set up here. That's gonna, I don't know the time period in which it runs, but it's, a few messages are gonna come in before that runs. It could be running every, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, but it's on a schedule of some sort.
Yeah. So this, yeah, you got rules, sweep rules. So if you make a sweep rule and you want to go back and figure out how to undo it, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to go into your settings, mail, sweep. Okay. Getting close to the end here. So we're going to talk about a few different things that you can do for when you need to do something later. So this would be the delay, right? Of the D's, we've got do it, delay it, delegate it, destroy it. So we're going to make another folder. And this is my personal preference. You don't necessarily have to do it exactly like this. So my folder is called follow up. I'm not going to make a rule for this, but this is where I'm going to bury messages that I know I need to do later. So a couple of different things that you could do here. You could just say like, oh, I need to do this. And you could just drag it into follow up. That's for me. I need more persistence than that. I need it to be a little bit more in my face. And so what I would do is I would flag it. I would then mark it as unread, and then I would move it into my follow-up folder. So now I have that counter there that's saying, hey, you've got unread things, which bothers me because I don't want anything unread. The objective is inbox 0, right? We want, that to be gone. But doing that manually every single time is time consuming. And again, we're in the mentality now of very quick actions that we are going to take against these things that we're now treating like they're to-do items. So a way that we can kind of work through that is this little option here called Quick Steps. Quick Steps are a series of actions that you can kind of chain together and make it all happen with like a button. Or I think you can even add these to like your right click menu. So we're going to make a new quick step. And we're going to call it follow up. And so I can add now, this is really similar to those rules, right? This looks just like the rules interface, except I'm not applying it like automatically. So my actions are going to be, let's see, I'm going to flag it. No specific date on it. I'm going to add another action. I'm going to mark it as unread. And then I'm going to add another action, which is going to be move it to my follow-up folder. So those are all three of those things that I did manually, but now I'm chaining them all together into one little like package. This is where things will vary a little bit. The desktop shortcut that you could tie this to in the desktop version of Outlook is a little bit different. It'll still be Control Shift something, but I think the desktop one will actually let you say Control Shift 1, 2, 3, or 4. The online version you can only start at 5. So I'm going to click Save, and so now I have a quick step called Follow Up. If I go to a message and I see, okay, this is something I need to do later, I can just go follow up, boop, and it did it all for me. It just sucked it over to my follow-up folder, marked it as unread, and it flagged it. And if you remember our tasks exercise that we did, that means it now shows up in to-do. So now I've got a flagged email that showed up inside of To Do that's going to give me something that I need to do, right? So quick steps are another automation that you can use as part of the tools in your toolbox to make this process of email triage a lot faster.
Like the other option in there is to add also flag it with a category of some sort.
Yes.
At the same time, that's just one more visual cue to you as to, maybe you've got, maybe you want to tag it with client, and this is, maybe this is a farmer you need to go work with, or somebody helping with nutrition, someone outside of your university. Just one more way to help you quickly look at something. You don't even have to read it. If you've got an option between two things you need to work on, maybe you want to work on the one that's your customer facing first. But that's the way that you could add a category when you're doing those quick steps.
Yeah, that's going to add these little labels here to the email. And I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because I'm going to talk about one more rule that I do. I won't necessarily build the whole rule, but yeah, sure, why not? Add a new rule from manager. So whenever my direct manager sends anything, calendar invite, email, whatever. So the condition would be it is from, and I would type in her email address. So we'll just say it's Adele in this case is my manager. The action that I want to take on that email is going to be to categorize it. And so I'm going to apply the red category. Now you can go into your settings and you can customize your categories. And then I'm going to uncheck this stop processing because I want it to apply that category and then keep running down the list of whatever else it's going to do. And I'll click save on that. And so if I send myself an email, so I'm going to go to Adele's computer here. And we'll send Nestor an email so you can see how that will look when it comes through. Because I like the red category because it's pretty bold. So Nestor, hello world. This is, geez, this is your manager speaking. So when I send this to Nestor, and we'll see how quickly this actually works here. When that email comes in, it should come in with the red manager category already applied to it. There it is. Perfect. And so I like to do that a lot, especially for very important senders who I need that to, like, red sticks out to me. And so I know, like, oh, I need to look at that one because it's from my manager. So when I'm going through my triage process, I'm going to hers first. I'm going to look at everything she sent me before I look at anything else. And so that is a good rule that you can lean on. So applying a category to certain sender addresses or recipient addresses, any of those types of things, and that kind of adds some visual cues to your mail. Thanks for reminding me about that, Joe. That is an important one. We have a couple more things in here, Joe, that you found where you were talking about figuring out how much mail you're using in certain folders and how to clear it. And then we also had some tricks on adding a little bit of a delay to your send. Why would you want to do that?
So both of these are cloud only. One of them is something that you might use just every once in a while, again, to reduce the amount of space maybe that's being used or what you're looking at. But if you go into your settings here, I think it's under general, you'll find storage. Looking for storage. There we go. You're going to see a list of all your folders and how much space they're taking up. And maybe you're moving a certain listserv, and maybe you've been, again, this is if you're just starting on this journey, maybe you've got a folder that's filled with 8 years of some listserv. And this storage online view gives you opportunity to delete and empty it. But if you click that little empty button there, you'll see you got some options. You could save just keep the last 3 months and delete everything that's older. That's another nice way to kind of, if you're just starting on this process, you've got some folders of stuff you really don't need anymore, but you want to keep some recent information. That's a quick way to clean those out.
I have gone through exercises of email retention policies and having to scour your mail and try to find anything older than a certain date and trying to use all kinds of crazy search ways to search and find, and that's another easy button. Yeah, if especially if you're up against a wall with, like, maybe you've had a lot of mail in your mailbox, you're getting messages from your IT people saying, like, hey, you need to clean up your mailbox because you're about to hit the ceiling of how much mail you can have. This is a really easy way to do it, especially, like you said, with that time period that you can kind of specify there. So that's a good find, Joe.
Yeah. The other one that's interesting, it's not exactly something to do with Inbox Zero, but it's just such an interesting capability built in to our web version that we're seeing here, is you can delay your sends for 10 seconds if you want. So you get a nice little undo option. You discovered you send it to the wrong person, you misspelled something in the subject line. Anyways, just a quick little option.
You were mad and you shouldn't send it anyway.
I always recommend, if you're typing an angry letter, maybe don't do that, but always remove everybody from the to line, just in case you hit send. So
yeah, what's the key combo that will send it?
Control Enter is an option that I would recommend turning off in Outlook, because you can accidentally hit that and that email gets sent right away.
Yep, and it's gone. There it goes. Message recall is
not really
getting better, but yeah, if you can stop it before it even leaves your outbox, you're doing it right. So this is an interesting one. Again, Outlook Online, settings, compose and reply, undo send, and you slide the slider up. So you have 10 seconds, or this message will self-destruct, where you have an opportunity to undo it before it actually lets loose. So that's not really an Inbox Zero thing, but kind of it's a useful tip for mail management, I would say, to help out. Okay, so we went through don't look at Outlook all day, right? Don't stare at your mailbox all day long. It is going to pull you in and take your time. Your time is valuable. So controlling your time is really important. So go on your calendar, schedule some times throughout the day that you give yourself dedicated mental space to work through your mail. Work through your mail by treating your mail like it's something like a to-do item, not necessarily a message. Don't read it all in depth at first. Look at it real quick and try to make really quick decisions. Can I do this right now? Okay, yes, just reply. Say, yes, I'll do that, or whatever. Whatever it is that I can do this within the next 2 minutes. I can take care of this and get it off my plate. Then go ahead and do it right then and there. Delay it if you know it's going to take longer. If you know it's something you really need to allocate time to, then drag it to your calendar or turn it into an event and actually schedule it so that you've got dedicated time to spend on whatever that item is. Delegate it if it's not even something you should be doing, right? Maybe it's not your responsibility, or it went to you by accident, or whatever the situation is. You delegate it. And then the last option was destroy it, delete it. You read it, you've acknowledged it. You don't need to keep it for eternity. So just delete, gone. Sweep is a great way to destroy things and make your life a lot easier with the automation that it can create in those rules. We gave you some baseline rules that are really kind of core rules, right? So you're going to make a folder called noise. You're going to move everything into that folder except stuff that was sent directly to you or carbon copied to you. That's going to make that triage process a lot more streamlined because now you're only looking at emails that came from people like that were talking directly to you or about you in the CC line. I realize in your position as extension agents, a lot of your mail might be external because it's coming from clientele who are not from your organization. So take that rule with a grain of salt. For me, if it's external, it's a customer or a vendor. When I was at UF, if it was external, I probably didn't need to look at it, if I'm being honest. So it just depends on your job role and kind of what you're in. But you can, depending on how your university flags those external mails, you can make a rule that dumps all that into its own dedicated folder. And then lean on your quick actions, right? Your quick steps to help you with that triage process. Because when you're cycling through these mails and you're looking at them real quick, you can just hit one button and you say, okay, I can do that, but I need to do it later. Click, and it moves it out of your inbox. It marks it as unread and it flags it. So now it's in multiple places to kind of annoy you when you look at your mailbox later. So those are all, like I said, not a prescription, but hopefully there's a few things in there that y'all can use that you can add to your toolbox, and maybe make it a little bit easier, even if it's just a couple of the rules. Those rules, once I got used to that, oh my gosh, I just don't know if I could deal with not doing that.
There's one more thing as I think we forgot to talk about is there's a common scenario. Let's say you're getting emails from people like asking you like, what do you want to do for lunch? And I like to use an option in Outlook where you can actually share an email into Teams and turn that into a chat where you can help. Those are the type of things that should be probably in Teams and would be better served. But there's an option to share messages right into Teams, into chat, and maybe move those messages into some place where they don't even belong in email, shouldn't have started in email. It's a way to help maybe the person who sent it, help them figure out maybe the best way to reach you on those kind of emails. Just one more option to triage your email.
Yep.
Get it out of email completely.
Yeah. That will help coach people, right?
Yep.
Nicely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to kill the recording. For those of you who are watching the recording, thanks for watching. And we'll hang out on the call for a little bit if you have any questions about this and want to chat with us about how fun email. See, Jackie, I told you email would be fun. Right. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.